So what about the aims of this work? She says, the aim of this work may be thus stated: to show that nature is not a fortuitous concurrence of atoms. This is something that scientists were saying at the time. They were saying nature is just like a clock, like a machine, mechanical machine that works by means of mechanical laws and by chance, and there is no purpose in the universe in particular. There is no aim, there is no room for spirituality, because this is just a mechanical machine. Most scientists still today embrace that view. So she says one of her aims was to show that nature is not this, that nature is far more. There is that intelligence, consciousness is in the very fabric of the cosmos. And she continues, to assign to man his rightful place in the scheme of the universe. You will see, of course, this was written at the end of the 19th century. You will see gender language in the Secret Doctrine, which was the common use, and it didn't bother anybody at the time. So when you read this book, just keep in mind the context. We will talk about this. She explained that the word man originally meant both male and female, but in time, the word man began to be associated to the male. Something similar happened in Sanskrit. I'm not an expert in Sanskrit by any means, but the word Purusha, which is the word for spirit, is used as the word for man also. The same that happened with the word man in English. But Purusha means the spirit, which is beyond any gender. It's just that our culture appropriated that word and associated it with the male. But Blavatsky says man comes from the Sanskrit root from which the word manu, for example, derives. It is the root for thought, thinking. Manu is the thinker. And it is an appropriate way of referring to human beings, because the particular quality of a human being is its ability to think. Of course, there are higher things, higher aspects in a human being than thought, but those higher aspects come to complete fruition when the human kingdom comes to an end. So what characterizes the beginning of the experience as a human being is the ability to think. That's what separates us from the animal kingdom. And when we fully develop the qualities that are beyond thought, we are beyond humanity too. So she says here that she aimed not only to show that nature is more than just a random accumulation of atoms, and to assign to a human being his rightful place in the scheme of the universe. Another aim was to rescue from degradation the archaic truths which are the basis of all religions, and to uncover to some extent the fundamental unity from which they all spring. So this was an important aim of Blavatsky. Students are often baffled by Blavatsky's constant reference to so many religions, ancient and modern, texts, concepts of different traditions, which make the study of the Secret Doctrine more difficult. From a certain point of view, one needs to know about all religions and traditions in the world to understand what Blavatsky is talking about there, which is not possible for any single student. There are ways to get around that. We will see some of that. But Blavatsky did this because she wanted to show how they all can be traced to this original scheme that is the esoteric philosophy. So she traces and says, this is similar to this because they are rooted here in this particular teaching of the esoteric philosophy. So there are many mentions to all of this. That was, as I said, an important aspect of her work. And her work had a very marked impact even on the scholars of the time, that I'm not claiming that they were necessarily influenced directly by the secret doctrine. Some of them were, but in the Theosophical tradition, when we put out ideas, we are actually generating or emanating those ideas to the mental plane, which then can be grasped by different minds around the world without having ever read in particular that idea. And after the secret doctrine, there was a group of scholars that started talking about the perennial philosophy and all of this, which they were not doing before the secret doctrine was published. And throughout the 20th century, there was a group of scholars that were claiming things that were quite similar to what Blavatsky was claiming here. At the time when Blavatsky said this, she was ridiculed, that this idea was nonsense. But then throughout the 20th century, there was a movement within the study of religions, for example, that was working on the basis of this idea of a perennial philosophy, an ancient wisdom, as we call it. But as philosophy and the study of religion became more and more materialistic, scholars today are moving away from this idea again. In any case, so then she says a third aim was to show that the occult side of nature has never been approached by the science of modern civilization. This is because a large number of educated people at the time were rejecting religion, were embracing science as the rational thing to embrace and to believe in. And because science was so materialistic, they were all becoming materialistic too. They were becoming atheists. And Blavatsky, part of what she wanted to do with the secret doctrine is to show that there are many aspects of nature and the phenomena in nature that are beyond the ability of science to measure and to study, and that therefore science is not the last word of what the universe is about. That science is actually quite limited when we come to deeper aspects of the cosmos. And in doing this, she was proposing that science is great, and she says it several times in the secret doctrine. Science is great to explain things that happen in the physical plane, but if you take that as a complete explanation of what the cosmos is, then you end up with a very narrow view. There are many things beyond science.